I didn't pick Subarus, Subarus picked me. You're probably wondering where we've been. So we've been super busy here at Dakota Subaru Experts, and one of my main goals with building this brand is to obviously document everything online. And over the last 4 months, it's honestly been crazy. We started a year ago today. This didn't even exist. This was all just an idea. Mariah is my wife. We decided to start this, I think, last October in 2025. And then since then, now we're in our second shop. That's something recently within the last month. We've also expanded into this shop, and we've hired Jeremy on. You might have seen him in some of our content in our YouTube shorts. We hired him on full time as a technician. He's a great guy, super knowledgeable in Subarus. We're super grateful to have him on the team. And then we've also hired Chaz, who's helping with all of our content, social media, and can help plan events that we want to do in the future as well. Growing the brand, getting the name out there. But now, part of hiring Chaz is to stay consistent posting on social media again.
So why did you start Dakota Subaru Experts?
I didn't pick Subarus, Subarus picked me. Just kidding. But why did we start it? Well, I guess that starts with the story on how this all started. I grew up very mechanically inclined. I grew up working on a farm with my grandpa, so I was always working on an engine on a tractor or a lawnmower. Grew up very mechanically inclined at a young age. And in middle school, I was always in my brother-in-law's back pocket as well. And at that time, he was actually a mechanic at Subaru in Mandan. So I started working on Subarus with him kind of around that same time. And one of my goals when I was younger was to become a pilot. And so around that same time, I started flipping Subarus. I'd buy them, one that was, overheating, and then working with my brother-in-law, I figured out how to replace head gaskets, and over time have just evolved, figuring out how to work on these cars. And in middle school, that's when I started flipping Subarus for a profit. Like I said, I'd find one that needed head gaskets. That was the majority of what I did. That needed head gaskets, I'd replace those, fix it all up, clean it up, and then go resell it. And then fast forward, after high school, I started the pilot training here at my local airport in Bismarck, North Dakota. And that's how I funded my pilot training, was by fixing and flipping Subarus. And fast forward, it's kind of funny because in 2020, I got all my pilots, or did all my pilot training, started flying charter flights, doing survey, pipeline patrol, and all kinds of stuff here locally in North Dakota. And then my goal was eventually to go to the airlines, or so I thought. But the truth is, once I actually became a pilot and I could actually fly for a career, it was no longer fun. I think the journey of becoming a pilot was actually funner than actually flying for a career. And in 2020, I built up all my hours. You need 1,500 flight hours to go fly for the airlines. And I was supposed to start flying for SkyWest Airlines in March of 2020, but around that same time, COVID hit. So then they laid off all the airline pilots at that time, and that's when I was supposed to start flying. So obviously there was no more need for a fresh, airline pilot. And then around that same time, my wife Mariah and I, we decided to move to Phoenix, Arizona, and we didn't really know what exactly we were going to do. We wanted to go all in and on just business and entrepreneurship. So we tried all kinds of different things when we first moved down there. I didn't flip Subarus because we lived out of an apartment. I didn't have any tools. I didn't have really the ability to go get a shop like this down there. So we tried all kinds of different things. At first we were flipping used books on Amazon, and then we flipped used couches on Facebook Marketplace, and then eventually we got into real estate, doing all kinds of different things there, like wholesaling. But I truly think that we were called to Phoenix to go develop the skill set and business knowledge to do what we're doing now. Because ultimately, back about a year ago, or no, almost 2 years ago now, We ended up moving back to our hometown here in Bismarck, North Dakota, because we found out we were having another kid, and we wanted to be closer to the family. And then boom, we decided to go all in on Dakota Subaru Experts. And from there, it's just kind of funny thinking back, like all the similarities, or like parallels between aviation and Subarus. For those of you that don't know, Subaru, the brand, actually started off as an aircraft parts manufacturing company before they started getting into the automobile industry. And the funny thing is that Subaru engines themselves are horizontally opposed 4- or 6-cylinder engines, meaning the pistons go sideways or the cylinders go sideways. And it's funny because when I was doing my pilot training and all of that, the airplanes that you fly are like the little Cessna, same exact design engine. They're horizontally opposed 4- or 6-cylinder engines. So it's just kind of funny, all the parallels and similarities, between Subarus and aviation and how we started all of this.
What makes Dakota Subaru Experts different from a normal repair shop?
Good question. So what makes us different is, for one, all we work on is Subarus. That's it. And reason being is, several different reasons, but for one, it really allows not only myself, but as we grow, we are going to hire more techs. It really allows us to really just hone in and specialize on these vehicles, and by doing so, working on the same platform day in and day out, we get to really learn the vehicle and the quirks and how to fix these issues long term. Not only that, it allows us to run this shop very, very efficiently versus if we were just like another general repair shop. Not dogging on general repair shops, there's plenty out there that are super good, but just my mindset of starting this and going all in on Dakota Subaru Experts is running the shop really efficiently. So as far as diagnosing issues, repairing issues, ordering parts, everything, by just focusing on one platform and just Subaru, basically it just allows us to be as efficient as possible.
What's been the hardest part about building the business so far?
The hardest part about building the business so far, I think, is developing the skills into like more of a leadership role versus like me working the day-to-day. I'd say really just working on like more personal development and leadership versus like actual struggles in the day-to-day, if that makes any sense.
What's something you've learned since opening that you didn't expect?
So when we first, opened this shop too, when we first opened it, we weren't working on customers' vehicles. I still kind of have the mindset of like, I'll buy a vehicle or Subarus that need repairs, fix them up, and then go resell them. And that's what we did when we opened up our first shop. I was, buying Subarus, fixing them up, and then reselling them. And then Mariah asked me, like, why don't we try to, market ourselves? Because prior to this too, when we were doing all our different endeavors in Phoenix, what I really learned, reflecting back now, is like, marketing, how to market yourself or your services, and basically, sales and all that. And I was kind of stuck in the mindset of like, no, we'll just find Subarus that need work. Basically, just staying stuck on what I already knew how to do, and was kind of uncomfortable getting into actually working on customers' vehicles. So once we started, I'd say in December. So we opened the shop in October. We were fixing, flipping Subarus primarily, and most of the customer work that we were doing up until that point were only on vehicles that I already had sold, because if anything did come up after the fact, and still to this day, most people will just bring it back to us to have us make the repairs if they're able to, obviously. But yeah, that was just something, for some reason mentally I was stuck on, is like, because there's a Subaru dealership here too, and I'm like, well, why wouldn't people just go there? But now that we've opened up to working on Subarus for customers, basically it's really opened my eyes to what's possible. And what I realized is, beyond we can serve people, what I've learned now, actually, since a little bit of time has gone on, is that we can actually serve people beyond just physically here in Bismarck, North Dakota. Because a service that we offer now as well is, in neighboring states, say in Minnesota, South Dakota, even Montana, we offer a pickup and delivery service. So we do have a couple of drivers who are going to, like, for example, we have one guy who's going to Minneapolis with a big flatbed trailer every single week, and he's coming back, or prior to this, he was coming back empty. So we're able to offer, or help Subaru owners outside of our local area. Say if somebody's in Fargo or Minneapolis and has a Subaru and wants us to work on it, we're now able to offer that service where we can pick up their vehicle, bring it here, so they don't have to think about that at an affordable price as well. And on top of that, documenting everything on social media, what we're starting to get into as well is the education space. So we also recently launched it's called a school group. The idea behind it is basically, to get Subaru owners, all across the country. We have people so far, I think, in Europe, England. There's one guy in Norway. Basically, the idea is people that aren't local here and that need help with their Subaru. It's more tailored towards like do-it-yourselfers that want to make repairs and stuff themselves. Basically, they come into the group. They're able to post, any questions like, "Hey, I got a 2010 Subaru Forester. Here's the check engine lights. Here's what's going on." And then either myself or Jeremy or one of our other future techs are able to jump in there and help you diagnose it in real time. So yeah, as we've been growing this, it's really just opened my eyes and changed my perspective on like what's possible.
Are you getting into WRXs, STIs, performance builds, and modified cars?
Yeah, so when we first, started working on customer vehicles, I said no WRXs or STIs or performance builds, just mainly we're going to be working on the everyday like Subaru, like, your Forester, your Impreza, your Legacy, things like that. Specifically because it's just a lot easier, to be honest, but it's not that we, aren't capable of working on that. It's just figuring out, more so like to figure out our systems and building our team before we just try to do everything at once, because we truly want to, serve Subaru owners at the highest level. But now to present day now, we are slowly starting to get into more of the performance side. Moving forward, our plan is to only do one build per month on like a WRX or STI. So say you have an STI or a WRX and you want to build it, we are only doing one build per month. That's all we'll do. Outside of that though, we'll still obviously work on, WRXs and STIs and performance stuff. And the plan in the future is to eventually build our own shop. We're hoping within the next, I don't have an exact date obviously, but 1 to 3 to 5 years, build our own shop and have a whole just performance side, performance team. That's all we're doing. Have a dyno, and yeah.
Are you doing any restorations for Subarus?
Yeah, so actually something that we're picking up pretty soon here actually is a 1970 Subaru 360 van. I didn't even know what that was until like a few months ago. We're going to document the whole process. We're going to be trading a 2005 Subaru XT. We're going to document, we got to build a short block for it. We're going to assemble the whole engine, put it in the XT, get it running, and then, like I said, document the whole process, and then go and trade for this Subaru 360 van. And from my understanding, it's one of 12 that are still roadworthy here in the United States. So that's going to be super cool, but we're going to restore the whole thing. Currently runs and drives, and the body's in pretty good shape. I think the interior is pretty much gutted, besides like the 2 front seats and the middle seat. And then something else that we're starting to get into is we have it's a 1969 Volkswagen Beetle. We're going to swap one of our Badlands Boxer engines inside of this. So basically a Subaru engine that we're going to put in Volkswagen Beetles. So that's something that we also want to get into, is more of the customization side. And then other than that, we do have a few customers that have, one guy that has like I think it's a 1970 or 79 Subaru DL wagon. He's supposed to be bringing that to us soon, and we're going to be going through that whole thing. And then there's also a guy that has two I think later 70s Subaru Brats. He has a few shops over, and he wants us to completely restore those as well. So yeah, future forward, that's the plan as well, is to get into more like restoration of old Subarus and more like customization. And then on top of that, we also want to get into the aviation space as well. So as far as like airplanes, there's what's called different classes of airplanes. So like your regular like Cessna that you go do your training in, that falls under general aviation, but there's a class of airplanes called experimental. So experimental, I could literally just take some scrap iron that I have laying around and go weld up a frame and then put whatever engine on it and go fly it around if it works. But in the experimental build or experimental class of aviation, what a lot of people do is they'll actually run Subaru engines on their airplanes for the simple fact of like what I talked about earlier, is that they're a horizontally 4 or 6 cylinder engine similar to a regular Cessna engine. So yeah, we do have some plans for getting into customization and aviation and stuff like that in the very near future.
What's one mistake you see Subaru owners make over and over again?
One mistake that Subaru owners make over and over again, I'd say the biggest thing working on them over the last 15 years is just simply not keeping up with the preventative maintenance. Say it's like a 2013 and older that has the old style EJ253 engine in it that has a timing belt. Big thing that I see is people not having their timing belt replaced, right around like 100,000 miles and the timing pulleys. Then what ends up happening is the timing belt will either snap or the timing will jump. Bearing will seize, or timing pulley bearing will seize, and then the timing will jump. That's a really big one. Other than that, it's just not changing the oil every 3,000 miles. It really obviously depends on the what year, what model. Every different ones have different quirks, but that's obviously the biggest thing. And then I'd say like the newer ones are, Subaru recommends, at least in the US and other countries, they do recommend an interval on having doing a drain and fill on like the CVT transmissions on 2013s and newer. But a big thing there, 2013 and newer Subarus that have the CVT transmissions is following what Subaru says. I always recommend doing a drain and fill around like every 60 to 70,000 miles. There's all kinds of different things, but those are the biggest, I'd say.
Where do you see Dakota Subaru Experts 5 years from now?
5 years from now, where do I see Dakota Subaru Experts? Definitely have our own shop. So like I said earlier in this video, our goal is we're going to maximize what we can do out of these 2 shops. And who knows, maybe a 3rd one next door will open up. Because basically where we're at now is like a bunch of shop condos. And like I said, we started with 1 shop, and then one straight across from us that we're in right now opened up about a month ago, so we got this one. This one is where all engine building or engine like disassembly and rebuilding is going to be taking place. And then the other shop's going to be mainly for like quicker stuff. But 5 years from now, the goal is to definitely have our own shop built somewhere locally around here, which will also serve as our headquarters. And from there, we want to expand into different locations. So probably like Fargo, North Dakota. Obviously going to expand in North Dakota first before we go open a shop, say in like Chicago, Illinois. But expand from there. But yeah, I have my vision, but God also has his.